Moving on to our final topic of the night, save the best for last. The King strikes again. Lewis Hamilton wins the Grand Prix in Bahrain, the first Grand Prix of the season, and honestly won it in a car that was technically not the best car on the grid. The Red Bull was best all week. Max Verstappen was number one on the charts all week in all the practices, number one in qualifying. But then on Sunday, when you got a race for points, that's when it shows up, and the King showed up, and he got it done.
Yeah, it just not a shocker. We talked a couple of weeks ago about how, Hamilton's car, he was spinning out, and it wasn't running fast, and they were having a tough time during testing, and it wasn't what they were used to. And then he comes out in the first race of the year and wins it in what is possibly a slower car. Just crazy, and you got to think that the rest of these racing teams and drivers are looking at Lewis Hamilton, and they're like, especially the guys at Red Bull, they got a new driver this year, and they're probably thinking, this is the year. Hamilton's getting old. We can take advantage of this, right? The car's a little slower, and then all of a sudden, first race of the year, Hamilton's like, nope, I'm going to win anyway. He wins the race, and all those guys are probably like, Red Bull and all the other teams are probably just like, what can we do to dethrone this dude? Because no matter what the conditions are, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter, how his car drives, no matter, it's a short off season because of the pandemic, is this the last season for Lewis Hamilton? It doesn't matter. He still wins the first race of the year. That sends a message to the rest of the F1 racing, all the teams in F1 racing, just to see them. They're probably like, God, what are we going to have to put up with again this year with Lewis Hamilton? Because he's been so good. He's been dominating the sport for so long. He might do it again here in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a 7-time world champion that's looking to get 8 world championships and put himself up there alone. Right now, he's tied with the great Michael Schumacher with 7 world titles. If he can win an 8th world title this year, first off, it's going to be one of the toughest years to do it because Max Verstappen and Red Bull are going to be there to fight every step of the way. And they showed it this weekend because Max Verstappen was all over him, actually passed him on track with just laps left, but it unfortunately passed off the track. It was deemed an illegal overtake, and he had to give the position back. And then Lewis just rode it out and got the win, with Max right there trying to steal it. So it's just one of those things where, like you said, I think it was a message sent and message well received to the grid that, hey, the King is still here. You're going to have to knock the King off his throne if you're going to want this title, because he's not ready to go. Kind of like this guy that we're watching here with him, Tom Brady. He's just getting better with age. And Lewis Hamilton is just getting better with age. He's learning how to drive the car better. And experience in F1 is huge. Okay, you know what to do. You know how to overtake. You know what to do when someone's overtaking you. You know how to slipstream properly. It's just one of those things where you can't put enough on experience. And Lewis Hamilton has all the experience needed to go out and go ahead and win another world title this year. And you know what? He's going to have more wins coming up, and we'll be talking about him on this show. Next time, I'm going to be wearing my Mercedes shirt because obviously I'm a big Mercedes fan, big Lewis Hamilton fan, and he's going to be getting more W's this season. But I'm looking forward to the battle between him and Max Verstappen, and I'm waiting to see if Valtteri Bottas, his teammate, can put up a little bit better of a fight. On Sunday, the team kind of put him on the back foot, had a slow pit stop, and that really put him seconds behind. So I'm looking to see in this next Grand Prix happens in Imola in Italy, if we can have 3 cars up there battling for the win, and maybe even possibly a 4th if Sergio Perez can drive his Red Bull up there to the front. But if you're new to F1, I suggest going to Netflix and watching the Drive to Survive series on Netflix. There's 3 seasons, and that'll cut you up to where we currently are in F1, and that'll get you ready for this season, because I really feel like this season is going to be one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting, that we've had in the last decade, and it's going to be a battle to the end. But I'm looking forward to seeing, and my money's on Lewis Hamilton winning his 8th world championship.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we love parity in professional sports and new teams coming up, we also love dynasties. We're Patriots fans, so we've seen that. But we also hate it when other teams are dynasties, but we still pay attention. There was always a debate: was the UConn women's basketball dynasty good for the women's sport? It 100% was because people always wanted to tune in to see greatness. I think that's what's going on in F1 racing. Lewis Hamilton is a superstar. He's kind of set up a dynasty here with the amount of times he's won, just like we just showed before with Tom Brady and some other championship caliber teams. Tim Duncan and the Spurs. Go back to the Celtics of the 60s and 50s, and the 49ers of the 80s. People love tuning in and finding out about these types of dynasties, and Lewis Hamilton is one of those dynasties in F1 racing. And it's going to be a lot of fun, like you said, to watch the rest of this season. And Hamilton sending a big message in week 1 to the rest of the F1 crew about who's still the man on the F1 racing circuit. And it's certainly still Lewis Hamilton, no matter what car he's driving. If he was driving a little Tykes car, I feel like he'd still win one of those F1 races. So it's going to be fun to watch. Well, folks, that's going to do it for our 10 topics this week on Comeback Sports. Again, if you want to follow us on Twitter, right here at the bottom of the screen is my Twitter handle, Coach Perry's Twitter handle. You can also subscribe, and make sure you subscribe to Comeback Sports on YouTube. You'll get updates. Our phenomenal producer, Ben Kudo, has been cutting up all the different topics into individual videos throughout the week. We're getting a lot of hits on some of these videos, so make sure you check those out as well. Some of the stuff we talked about earlier in the winter that's now coming through to fruition in the NFL draft, NFL free agency, the NCAA tournament, the NBA. A lot of this stuff is now kind of showing up, so it's fun to kind of see what we talked about before and now what we're talking about now. So make sure you check all that stuff out, and make sure you continue to subscribe and watch Comeback Sports, folks. We want to thank you so much for joining us this week. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.